Okay, welcome back everyone. So now we've done white collar crime, we're going to focus on internet crime. So what is internet crime? Well, it comes in three varieties. So computer focused, where the crimes can only be committed due to the existence of the internet. Computer enabled, crimes that use computers and internet but can be committed with or without a computer, and online versions of old offences. So we've got cyber fraud, identity theft, cyber stalking and hacking, human rights abuses, and they all operate in an opportunity structure. So there's got to be an available victim, a motivated offender, and an absence of capable guarding. So routine activity theory is totally relevant to internet crime. There's a great big long list there. I'm not going to read through all of those. I'll give you a sec to read through them. Okay, so let's look at some things that change, so from traditional crime to cyber crime. Fraud has many different varieties. So we all know about those emails that come through saying you've got a wealthy uncle in another country. They've left you $1 million. If you send me $1,000 and I'll send it to you. Yeah, right. Tax office asking you for a fee for your tax return. This never ever happens. So this is a scam. iTunes cards. Get a demand for money, but send it in iTunes cards. That's a relatively recent one. And again, it is a scam. And you get an email that says to click here to confirm your password. None of the banks or anyone in government departments will ask you to do that, but it's amazing how many people will actually fall for it. And they're not just old people either. Burglary. How they do this is crashing a website by sending heaps of people to their site. So in the old days, what they would do was jam up fax machines by sending blank black pages to use up their paper and their ink. Hacking into websites. So Hobart Airport arrived one morning to find ISIS ads all over their site. It was not them, but their service provider who was targeted, but it would have made their site look pretty bad. And cyber stalking. How many of us have looked at the Facebook page of someone else? So old-fashioned stalking was a little bit more hands-on, as you had to actually physically follow someone. Now all we do is look them up on Facebook to see if we can see their profile and see if we can get any information from them. But if we're all smart, we'll have our Facebook pages locked down pretty tightly. So internet crime is about computerized systems that have allowed international business and communications to flourish, but have also allowed new types of crimes and modern versions of old crimes. So think about child pornography on the internet and the dark web. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, definitely 40 years ago, that never existed. And all of these crimes that relate to the internet have all become crimes in the last 30 years, from about 1990 onwards, maybe a little bit earlier, but that was when it got really big. Think about places like eBay, 233 million users. Okay, so this is where criminals that can't compete in or get legitimate occupations can often turn to real or virtual worlds to get some money. So there are laws to tackle internet-based crimes such as hacking, piracy, stalking, grooming and harassment. Revenge porn. This is really, really relevant at the moment because one of the Brisbane Broncos players has just had a girl do this to him. So he spent one night with her, decided he didn't want to see her again, but she had filmed them having sex. And when he refused to meet up with her or have a relationship with her, she has put that piece of footage up on the internet. She has now been charged under Queensland law for doing that because we have specific laws around revenge porn. So these are the types of things that are happening that, you know, we don't always know that it's out there, but there are these laws in place. In 2001, there was a Cybercrime Act that came into being. So now the responsibility falls back onto all of us to make sure that we protect ourselves. using antivirus software, firewalls, encryption programs, filtering software. We need to make sure that we are educated and informed and block inappropriate content. Don't open emails if you're really, really not sure about it. But what are the problems? So the laws don't keep up always as fast as they need to. So imagine waking up one morning to find that all the laws have changed and were vastly different. It would create chaos. The law cannot keep up with internet crime. If you try reporting it to the police, they may not be as interested as we would hope because they're not trained in this area. We do have a very small unit in Queensland who are specifically trained in this area though, which is really good. So traditional offending, usually the offender and the victim are in the same jurisdiction, but with internet crime, you could be in different countries. So it can make it really, really difficult for the laws to keep up with and to police it. Most cyber crimes go unreported. You actually do need to know that you've been victimised in the first place, but even when people do know that they've been victimised, they may decide not to report it. Why might they not report it? Well, apart from not realising that they are a victim, they might be embarrassed that they fell for something. They might not know who to report it to, or they could have been doing something illegal themselves in the first place. And I don't know if any of you have seen that ad on TV with the young fella in it who's sitting in front of the police because he's had all his money stolen, but he was doing something illegal in the first place. So they just tell him that he is a victim of his own stupidity. So that's some of the reasons. If you saw that, then you probably wouldn't want to go and report if you'd been a victim as well. So these are all the agencies. There's a whole heap of agencies, and this is for internet crime, and some of this is for white collar crime as well. So it's understandable that people might not know who to report to because it depends on the nature of the offence and whether it's an individual or a business. So the AFP, police, is for individuals, CERT is for businesses, the ACCC is for scams, and ACORN. Have you ever even heard of ACORN? Well, ACORN is the Australian Cybercrime Online Reporting Network. This is where you should report, but most people don't even know it exists. This is a one-stop reporting shop with lots of agencies from the whole country involved. It's a good way to get stats on what's happening out there, and once they know about it, they then may forward it to a local authority to actually go and investigate. But think about the implications for not knowing the prevalence of internet crime. How much money is going out of this country or going to criminals because we simply don't know about it? Well, here we go. The estimated annual cost globally is somewhere between $375 and $575 billion. If the FBI said that in 2014, imagine how much higher it will be even now, 6 years later. Australian government estimates that it costs the nation about $1.2 billion annually, but Symantec, which is a company that does online protections, estimate that it's closer to $2 billion. So the direct financial cost is the actual cost of business, but the entire cost would include investigation costs. And so Symantec is usually very accurate in what they say. So yeah, so direct financial include the investigation, and it's much, much higher. In 2013, more than 5 million had been a victim of cybercrime. I've been a victim of it this year because my credit card got compromised, and it just took me so long to change over all my payments and everything. And I got all the money back, but you know, it's just the inconvenience of it all. I'll just put this quote up for you to read. Okay, so 2016, globally, 36% of businesses reported being a victim of economic crime. So economic crime includes all of these things that are on those graphs. Asset misappropriation is a nice way of saying theft. But in Australia, we have more cybercrime than theft. So what's going on here? What do you think? We are high consumers and early adapters of or adopters of technology. So are we just better at detecting it here and people are more willing to report? And that way it shows that our cybercrime is higher than misappropriation, asset misappropriation or theft. By the way, it's significant. So this shows the different types of incidents, the most prevalent types. So ransomware is really starting to move up. This was 5 years ago, so that figure has probably gone up. But this is where a hacker will come in and lock or encrypt your files, and you can't access them unless you pay a ransom. A lot of people will choose to pay the ransom because they can't be offline for that long. It's going to kill their business. And in most of the ransomware cases, once the ransom is paid, they give you back your access, give you back everything. They don't take anything else. They don't take any of your information. They just take the money. So malware, which is why you should have anti-malware stuff on your computer. Again, our responsibility. Targeted malicious emails, virus or worm infection, theft of mobile devices and laptops. I often think with my mobile, not with my laptop, but with my mobile, that I should take my thumbprint off and just have a passcode, because then if it's stolen and I'm with it, they can't use my thumb to open it. And all the other things that are there that you can see. There are usually lots of victims who are repeat victims, and that's not unusual too. So individuals as victims, more than $234 million worth of financial loss, and that is 2015. Okay, so it's going to be a lot bigger now, no doubt. From their statistics, the majority of victims are aged 20 to 39 years. The highest percentage of victims is from Queensland at 30%, and 52% were scams or frauds. So go Queensland, woohoo. So if individuals are big victims, who are the offenders? Well, largely thought to be carried out by individuals and organised crime groups based offshore. It's a business. You can pay professionals to do this for you. You can buy packages to help you do it. So I don't know if this has now stopped, but maybe 4 to 5 years ago, when we lived at our old address, we kept finding messages on our voicemail on our home phone with an accent that said that we had not paid a tax bill and that the police were coming and a warrant had been issued for the police to come. Of course, I just deleted it and moved on. But someone who is a little bit older and a bit more frail and living by themselves, they could get very frightened by that. And it's amazing how many people actually went ahead and paid this money thinking that it was a real thing and didn't think to call the tax office first. Survey found that 59% of respondents agree that most information security threats that result from insiders are from innocent mistakes rather than malicious abuse of privileges. So even those who have really, really, really strong security on their computers are still taken and still unwittingly provide access to things like passcodes and those sorts of things. All right. What would you do if you found a USB drive in a car park? Would you plug it in to find out what's on it? Some would probably say no. What if it had a Griffith logo on it? Would you plug it in? What if it had Griffith College Trimester 2 exams written on it? Would you plug it in then? This could be a really, really quick way to get a virus. So Homeland Security in America did this as a bit of a test and found that 60% of the people who found a USB drive in a car park plugged it into their computer. And these are staff who work in really, really sensitive positions. When it had Homeland Security written on it, 90% of them plugged it in. So humans really are the weakest link. So the manipulation of people to get them to perform action, so using people to get to the information. The government themselves will use hackers to test their systems. If they can't get into the system, then hackers who are not working for the government will target people. So they can pretend to be someone who should be in the building, and it's easy to get in as we are so trusting, even to get swiped into secure floors. So these are the hackers that are being used by the government to try and get into the system. So they can't get into the system, so they target the people who work there to get into the building. So they get to the secure floor by just walking in and being helped by others to get there by being nice, and they get access to everyone. Have you ever been contacted by your telco or bank and asked to confirm your name and date of birth? They identify who you are, so how do you know that they are who they are? And to give you an example of that, I was rung by my bank one day, and the young man on the other end of the phone was asking me for my code, which is my secret word, and asking me for my date of birth. And I said, hang on a sec, you rang me, so I assume you've got access to all that information. So I tell you what, I'm going to ring you back. So I actually rang them back on the number that I knew was the right number. And they said, yes, he did try and call you. And yes, we do get that a lot. So people who are trying to now ring with legitimate business are often getting almost like a firewall put in front of them because people are a lot more careful. Not all social engineering attacks are designed to yield pieces of sensitive information. So phishing, sending out an email to lots and lots of people, but only need a handful to click the link to get the results that you want. And this can be all about social engineering. Spear is targeting specific organisations. So for instance, the Brisbane City Council received an email from a supplier changing their bank account number, and the employee just went ahead in their system and changed it to the new bank account number. So what happened then was that the real person, after a while, was asking the council why none of their accounts were being paid, and it was picked up what had happened. But there's a lot of work goes into that because they've got to make the letterhead and everything look realistic, and the language must match. And that's where a lot of these overseas people get caught out when their English is not real good and they can't spell. So this is another big problem. Phishing. What are the characteristics of phishing? Seeking personal information such as names, addresses, date of birth, and tax file numbers. They use link shorteners or embed links that redirect users to suspicious websites that can really, really look legitimate and real. So there's a lot going on at the moment with tax office links and things that are not real, but they look really real. They can incorporate threats and fear, and they make it sound like it's a really, really urgent thing that person needs to complete very, very quickly. So they're manipulating them into acting quickly to give out this information. This is why I always say to people on your Facebook page, put your month and day of birth, but never put your year, never put your address. Keep your personal information such as that out of the public eye as much as you can, because you give a person the ability with your name, address, date of birth, and tax file number to create a new you. And once the new you is created, it's very, very hard to get yourself back. All right, there's a couple of YouTube clips here that I'd really, really like you to watch that are around social engineering and cybercrime in the future. Think about where we're going with technology in the future. You can have your TV connected to the internet. Your washing machine or your fridge can all be connected to the internet. You can turn the lights on in your house from the internet or from your phone. And this creates opportunity for crime. What about driverless cars? They're all connected in some way by computer stuff. You could get a threat in the future saying transfer $5,000 or I'm going to crash your car while you're in it. These are the things in the future that we need to be thinking about. The more that our life is hooked to the internet, the more opportunities there are for the crooks or the bad guys. They just need to learn how to harness all this new technology and use it for their own means. I love that topic. It's so interesting. Okay, so watch those 2 YouTube clips. Right, that completes the content for week 8. Next week, we're going to move on to module 3 and policing. So I will see you all then.